Hello, welcome. I'm just going to start with a premise and then work my way in from there. Quick overview: Chesterton's fence and Bonhoeffer's theory of stupidity. I'm taking those and trying to look and see how they apply with modern tools, social media, flow of information. Chesterton's fence: do not remove a fence until you know why it was put there in the first place. We see a lot of people ripping up fences that they don't know why they're there today. And then Bonhoeffer is that stupidity is not so much a psychological as it is a social contagion, in that uh, stupidity is not measured in terms of intellectual agility or capability, more so in how willing you are to accept things and do things for the sake of other for as you are commanded. We see the most common example we see of this is Germany during World War II. I'm just going to avoid certain words here uh, for the sake of YouTube. For the most part, we see that in spades today on every side. I'm not going to cherry pick and say one side only does. No, both sides have it. It is to differing degrees, though. I'm going to leave it at that, but I want to bring this back to something we can see after 5 years. Everyone remembers the COVID lockdowns, depending on where you were. Some places locked down, some places didn't. If you pay attention to news from China, you knew they were building concentration camps effectively. Or same with Australia, actually. Oddly enough. Australia and Europe, what the hell is wrong with you? People are. I don't think reminisce is the right word. More so looking back and reflecting. We all know what went on. The big question is, what were the after effects this far out? And there's a couple. A very simple one is that we see, starting in 2016, we see a slight ramp up and evening out of social media use. 23, I'm not quite sure what statistical difference 23 had over the others, but that's neither here nor there. But we see ever since 2016, we see a ramp up, and now it's just sort of plateaued. And we see Facebook. You know what demographic you're in. What is it? QQ. All right. But no, like the top ones are Facebook, YouTube, Insta, WhatsApp, and TikTok. We can ignore because that was that. I mean that kind of pops up more recently. It wasn't too much of a COVID. Actually, was it? I don't remember. And we see slight audience growth. Not too much of the point here. I want to more so throw into how during during that period we entered a mass. Well, we resumed the mass psychosis cycle that we've been in since. I'd argue. Since '01, after we went to Afghanistan and started just whatever you think on that. Not here to say anything, but we've been in a cycle of media or people talk about and trying to get one thing said, cause chaos here, drop off. We had a period of calm, pop back up. What was it? The channel After School did a really good episode on mass psychosis. it in general, it is an easy way to manipulate, and they saw COVID-19 as the greatest time that they could try to isolate and manipulate people, and we see that quite fervently during that time. Young, especially among young people, young adolescents, adults, keep kids couldn't go out and play with their friends. Uh, Video games had a massive spike because everyone was locked inside. Uh, People struggled in school because they were locked. Couldn't actually go to their classrooms, and on top of all that, we had people losing purpose in their lives. We had people not knowing what to do. We had people off themselves because they didn't feel like they had a purpose. Mainly young people, but still, it's a troubling issue when social media is as widely used as it is. Like, actually, was this? This isn't per person. Okay. Um. All right. Whatever. Uh. Point is, during that time, we had. Well, all right. Starting with 2016, we had one side lose faith in traditional media and shift to alternative media. We see that still consistently happening, and we see it also more so now on the other side, where they're losing faith in their traditional media, and traditional media is only kept alive by the handful of people that actually pay for it, the handful of people that actually watch it. Uh, and I kind of want to rope this all back to how, whether you want to argue it's evolutionary or how people just developed and it's something that's stuck around, people have a natural tendency to believe in something or to trust fervently in something. I say that not saying that it has to be a religion, but it has to be something. People, it's a hierarchy of beliefs or values, and people will often come really close to, if not actually worship whatever they have at the top of that value, at the top of the hierarchy. Simply put, think of it as take your own list of things you value and rank them where you actually would throw them. Uh, Whatever you end up throwing at the top is probably what you center your life around. And we have people who grew up during, well, I guess you could kind of say grew up during that time. During the lockdowns, people lost the ability to socialize, kind of. Then we also had just the issue that it was psychologically stunting. Well, it was stunting psychological development, stunting emotional development, and we had people who didn't know how to really operate in the world. I mean, we were eventually going to get to that point anyway. The lockdowns kind of just sped that up. Um, but because of that, people jumped into uh, because of the lockdowns, people jumped into looking for a reason to uh, do things, a reason to keep moving, to keep living. And we do know statistically, so long as once someone retires, unless they have something to keep them going, a reason for them to have a purpose in life, we know that they do more rapidly wither and deteriorate, as opposed to someone who, after retiring, has a reason, that has a purpose for their life. Uh, I say this because during those times of confinement, people Whether you were religious or not, people looked for something to believe in, something to do. They needed something to give meaning and purpose to their life. I keep reiterating this because it is something I do genuinely believe that people have a tendency towards worship of anything that they can see as a part of a greater whole, that can help them be a part of a greater whole. Uh, like we have the alphabet soup stuff that has effectively become a non-theistic religion. We have uh, over here. This is the riot, little snippet from the George Floyd riots. And if y'all remember those, where the fire even mostly peaceful, something like that. And we have the anti-Trump stuff, even the pro-Trump stuff. I'm going to be honest. Every angle has every side. Both sides have their fervent. I'm just going to say believers. You got people there. Trump could do no wrong. You have people where Trump is doing everything wrong. Recently, they're trying to get rid of Elon. He's not even a permanent. His thing isn't even a permanent position anyway. So whatever. Moving past that, we generally have people that want to look to something and say, I believe that, I follow that, I will do that. It is. There's always going to be a cultish following for one belief or another. Because people need something in their lives that gives them purpose and meaning. For centuries, that was religion. Now people have kind of abandoned religion and have gone to other things, and now people are returning to religion. It's kind of funny because people saw religion as, oh, what is this? Why is this here? Let's just get rid of it. When they got rid of it, what did we get? Mass ST. Well, a lot of very frequent spreading of STDs. We got wide abuse of adult content. We got people who are addicted to any number of substances or things. We have people that have lost purpose and meaning in their life. We have people that have lost any real attachment or feeling for specific things in it. Like it stems from you start pushing out the church or a belief or anything that faith has long been a bulwark against the more baser or wicked parts of humanity. Is it perfect? No. I've got my own beef with different parts of history, but people highly exaggerate the Crusades and the Inquisition. The Crusades, long term, not really too successful, but for their time, they were successful. I say they weren't too successful long term because the very thing they pushed out kind of came back and is now flooding Europe. Also trying to flood the States, where they're trying to build an entire city of it in Texas. It is Texas, right? I think so. Not the point. It is. People look to certain things and say, why is this here? Let's get rid of it. And then they find out why it's here, instead of thinking, why is this here? We also have a lot more often. I'm just going to read a bit of it. If we want to know how to get the better of stupidity, we must seek to understand its nature. This much is certain, That is, in its essence, not an intellectual defect, but a human one. There are human beings who are remarkably agile intellect, and yet stupid, and others who are intellectually quite dull, yet anything but stupid. We discover this to our surprise in particular situations. The impression one gains is not so much that stupidity is a cognitive defect, but that under certain circumstances, people are made stupid or allow this to happen to them. And he also goes to point on that it's not necessarily we notice in something we notice in people that are isolated. More so, we notice this in social spaces and environments. It's wonderful, like, well, not wonderful, but like, it's a very interesting thing, and we have kind of a wrench to throw into the idea. Its theory, where it's a social aspect. Well, I don't think quite a wrench. More so, just another thing to add credibility to this theory. Social media is, well, let's be honest, anything but social. People are too comfortable being able to insult and verbally abuse people without getting hit back. Just gonna say it. People are too comfortable to sit behind a screen and be able to insult people and harass and do all that. Honestly, I don't believe the way Europe's going about it's going to fix anything. I believe it's only going to make things worse, and it's going to. I'm just going to say it. Eventually, the U.S. is going to need to. Eventually, America will need to liberate Europe. Again, that's where it's going to lead, unless the people start doing something about it. As it stands right now, Europe is what the world. It's Western society is trying to make its march towards totalitarianism because the ruling class has deluded themselves into believing, hi, we know better than the masses, and they've also done a debatably decent job at training at domesticating humans. I'm going to use that term, yes, because what do we see here? I see two things. I see paid protesters, but I also see people that are trained to go and protest things, whether they like it or not, or whether they actually support it. Or I think the better way to look at it is these people have been trained to believe whatever they're told, and have been trained to go and protest for whatever they're told to protest. Is that true for both sides? Absolutely. My question, though, comes down to one simple thing. Why have we stopped planting trees for the next generation? America, the Western world as a whole, has said we are going to abandon our next generation. Gen Z, it's an abandoned generation. Go get this degree, you'll be fine. Go do this, you'll be fine. Oh, economic collapse. Oh, economic collapse. Oh, chaos. We are watching a world that was once built collapse, and the only person we're seeing try to do anything about it, to the dismay of everyone else, is Trump. For 30 years, we have forced out actual skilled labor through quote-unquote free trade. We are marching towards an American society where we do not do anything ourselves, and that is not something you want America to be. If America cannot produce anything themselves, America will have no real standing in the world. And I would have assumed people would have learned this back during COVID when China said, no, we're not letting you leave the port. We're not letting you leave because we need this here now. Yeah, and that's where all of our pharmaceuticals are made. That's where a lot of PPE is. That's where a lot of drugs are made. American China needs the American market more than America needs China. And America needs to bring back and start building its economics and production base back up. And Trump is the only person who is actually doing it. Obama and Clinton before him have all said, we need to do this, we need to do this, yet they never did and they never would. For the past 30 years, we've sold out the manufacturing. People that came into the office said, we need to do this, we need to do this, we need to do this. And Trump is saying, I'm going to do this. He is the only person who's saying, all right, I'm gonna call your bluff, and I'm actually gonna do it. And now we have people losing their minds because he's actually doing what he said he'd do. Because he's doing what previous administrations said they need to do, and never did. All the while, American farmland and American land as a whole, different sections in different states, is owned by China because we export nothing. We export nothing. We produce next to nothing. And now we have finally someone who's saying, all right, China, you have not played by the rules, and I'm going to go after you for that. Is Trump a good guy? Ain't going to say that. Ain't saying that. I don't know the man well enough to say that. But he is the first. He's the first person I've seen elected that's actually trying to keep his promises. Yeah. All right. Thanks for joining me on this little rant. Until next time, have a blessed day.